Part 48. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 471. Zhang Jingfen naturally wouldn't hide the situation about old demon Wang, and he also wanted to know if this old demon suddenly attacked, it was just his own sudden thought, or someone else's hands and feet were behind him. Wang Lao Mo is a notorious demon cultivator in the Anzhou area. He has come this way very improperly. He doesn't know how much blood of innocent cultivators has been smeared in his hands, and his methods are also very vicious and vicious. Everyone guessed that he would die under the catastrophe, but I don't know what means he used to break through. Wang Laomo's name has always been on the wanted list of the Buddhist sect and other major sects, but he is very sneaky, and the dark state is mixed with dragons and snakes, which makes him famous and more unscrupulous. He didn't expect to fall into the hands of the sword demon himself. Mahayana demon cultivator? Damn it, Gu Yao said angrily, he didn't have the strength to settle accounts with this old demon Wang. Zhang Jingfeng comforted, although this old demon acts recklessly, he is very unwilling to take his own life. This time, he bumped into the hands of the sword demon. I'm afraid he won't dare to show up for a while. In the future, he may not be Gu Alchemist, the opponent of fellow deist Qi. Old demon Wang forcibly raised his cultivation base to Mahayana by means of crooked ways. In his opinion, he has almost reached the limit. How can he compare with Gu Yao Kai Changjai, who is in a period of rapid ascent? Old demon Wang will sooner or later take action for this time. Pay a heavy price. Gu Yao nodded. Zhang Xiao, please help me pay attention to the movement of this old demon Wang. Okay, Zhang Jingfeng replied. The matter between me and brother Ye. Gu Yao was worried that his and Qi Changjai's identities would be exposed, which would bring trouble to Zhang Jingfeng. Zhang Jingfeng smiled, Master Gu, you and Dai Qi are not without backing, a senior blood slaughter, a senior sword demon, will make some people afraid to do it directly. Gu Yao also laughed. He would not take the initiative to clarify his relationship with the two seniors. It would be better if the outsiders were afraid, so he would take advantage of the two seniors. Then buy some elixirs on the market for us. Okay, I'll have someone do it right away. Gu Yao turned around and entered the pill room again, and told Su Chen about the situation outside. Su Chen was also surprised, and said, I didn't expect that the sword demon would value this disciple so much, and this kid Qi Changjai has been exposed. Gu Yao said angrily, Brother Ye has some connections with senior sword demon. Even if we don't meet this time, if there is a chance in the future, big brother Ye will visit senior sword demon. Gu Yao's eyes rolled again, to say that there is another senior in Zhangguang. Now that our identities are exposed, everyone knows that there is a backer like a master behind us. After Gu Yao finished speaking, he quickly slipped away, leaving Su Chen alone to grind his teeth and get angry. When they came to Anzhou, Gu Yao's intuition master was probably nearby. I wonder if Su Chen had sensed it? Su Chen's perception was definitely stronger than theirs. Didn't he hear the sound of knocking wooden fish earlier when he was in Dongzhou? While casually sorting through the material, keep an eye out for the concentric bell. On the other side, Qi Changjai and Yan Yuanjing were taken into a space together. He saw the tall figures standing in front of them, and turned his back to their figures. Qi Changjai knew at a glance that this was senior sword demon. Myself. I saw the image left by my predecessors in the Jianj, but compared to the image, I am now even more powerful, with a pair of eyes that are clearly calm, but Qi Changjai can see the infinite sword intent from it. At this moment, the sword demon I am a sword, and the sword is a sword demon. Senior himself. Master Yan Yuan respectfully bowed to the sword demon, and then stood on the side with the same expression as the sword demon. Junior Qi Changjai has seen senior sword demon Qi Changjai performed the junior salute and gave sword demon a deep salute. A gentle yet sharp power lifted him up. I didn't expect Wanluo continent to have Yuan Jing, my inheritance, and a sword cultivator like you. Not bad. To let outsiders know that it is very rare for Qi Changjai to get a good evaluation from Sword Demon. You must know that the Sword Demon was very disgusted when Yan Yuanjing was just picked up, but who asked this disciple to be picked out by himself? He could only continue to train him, and he threw him into the sword array and tossed him for a long time. This made him a little satisfied, but he didn't reveal half of it in front of Yan Yuanjing. Of course, he can say that his disciple is not good, but he is very protective of the outside world. Otherwise, he will not disclose Yan Yuanjing's identity early, and then let him go out. With the identity of the Sword Demon disciple, not many people really dare to pay respect to Yan Yuan. Dead hand. Senior is wrong. Compared with the senior, the junior is still far behind. The Sword Demon said lightly, although your swordsmanship and mine are related to the Sword Pavilion, the paths taken by the 3,000 swordsmen are still different. There is not much that can help you. Your swordsmanship needs to be understood by yourself. After 5 years, the sword domain will be opened, and you and Yuanjing will enter together. Although Qi Changjai doesn't know what the sword domain is, it must be extraordinary for Senior Sword Demon to let him and Yan Yuanjing go in together, so there is no reason to refuse. Yes, this junior takes orders, but seniors can understand the current situation in Anzhou. Qi Changjai asked the right person, and the Sword Demon said with his hands behind his back, the incident in the dark state has something to do with the demon world, but with us old guys staring at them, they don't dare to make big moves. The ones below are just for you. Come on, you and this seat also have some origins, and on the boundary of the dark state, this seat can still protect you. Qi Changjai was grateful again. Thank you for your maintenance, senior. The Sword Demon didn't lift Qi Changjai up this time, but after Qi Changjai stood upright, he found that the Sword Demon had disappeared, and Yan Yuanjing gave him a very faint smile. There is a sword formation set up by Master here, and I want to see it. Fan. Of course Qi Changjai wanted to see, but I need to tell Xiao first. This should be the senior's own little secret realm. Yes, you come with me. Yan Yuanjing knew the relationship between Qi Changjai and Gu Yao. Although he couldn't understand it and felt that this relationship was burdensome, he would not interfere. Besides, Gu Yao himself was a genius alchemist worthy of his respect. He led Qi Changjai out to exchange messages with Gu Yao, and then took him back to the small secret realm and went straight to the sword formation. As for whether to visit other places in the small secret realm, sorry, but Yan Yuanjing, who only has a sword in his heart, has no such concept at all. Gu Yao finally got the message from Qi Changjai through Tongxin Bell, and the two communicated. Gu Yao agreed that Qi Changjai would stay there, and was going to find someone else to inquire about the situation of the sword region. It would be recommended by the Sword Demon. Is a good place. Jianyu. That's a good place, Su Chen heard Gu Yao's muttering, but to enter Jianyu, you need to get a special sword order from Jianyu. This kind of sword order is usually in the hands of Jiangzi forces. And the number is very small, not like the tokens of the Absolute Pawn's secret realm. That guy is lucky, the Sword Demon is willing to send him and his apprentice in together, otherwise this guy Qi Changjai won't get the chance to enter this time. I just heard people mention the sword field, but the specific situation inside, unless you personally if you go in, you can't describe it from the outside, but I know a result. Those who go in, and those who come out alive, are either mediocre or soaring into the sky. Gu Yao also rejoiced for Qi Changjai when he heard it. I'm grateful to Senior Sword Demon for giving Brother Ye this opportunity. He thought about it. Why don't he make more pills and send them to Yan Yuanjing? He can do what he can do, it seems that's all there is to it. By the way, Brother Ye also said that the incident in Anzhou this time is related to the demon realm, but there is no chance for Senior Sword Demon and the others to take action. It is still within the controllable range. Su Chen nodded. I guess it is too. If they all take action, this incident will not affect the Anzhou state. Some things can be seen clearly when you stand at a high enough height. Knowing that everything was fine in Qi-Changjai, Gu Yao also put his heart into the research, and the progress was naturally much faster without distractions. At the same time, several bosses in Anzhou have received the sound transmission from the sword demon. Qi-Changjai and Gu Yao, who are currently in Anzhou, are guarded by his sword demon elder. These big guys were shocked. For thousands of years, Sword Demon has never come forward to protect other monks like this. The first time he came out was to show the identity of Yan Yuanjing. It didn't take long before he came out to protect the other two cultivators. What are the origins of these two monks? The bosses immediately sent the order down, quickly found out, and declared that the two of them were not to be touched. The various forces quickly started to operate, and who are Qi-Changjai and Gu Yao, who are the two people, and let the sword demon personally fly the sword and transmit the sound. The specification can be high enough. How many people want to have a relationship with the sword demon, but since the sword demon became famous, there are only 3 people. How can it not attract the attention of all parties? It's just that all parties searched and searched, but they couldn't find the monks with these 2 names, so they went back and found the Laxian Jiangziu who was taken away by the sword demon. The identity of the 2 finally became clear. To say that the first person to know the identity of the 2 was the Dan League in Danzhou. The Dan League was just a loose alliance of various forces in Danzhou, and it was usually used in unison. The Alchemy Alliance was originally investigating the 2 monks who appeared next to the Blood Slaughter monk, and they were called Qi-Changjai and Gu Yao. Originally, Dan Alliance had to arrange actions because of the exposure of the 2 people's identities. Now it has to be suspended first. At least there can be no big moves on the bright side. Shen Xin was also annoyed when he received the order from the Dan Alliance, and faced Kui Xian, who came to ask again, and truthfully explain the situation. Kui Xian was going mad. You said that the sword demon came out to protect those 2 people? He is a demon sword cultivator, isn't his hand stretched too long? Shen Xing's face turned cold immediately. What qualifications does Kui Xian have to question him? You can ask Senior Sword Demon about this yourself. If you dare to ask it, someone Shen admires you. Of course, first of all, you can see the face of the Sword Demon himself. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 472. Unlike Kui Xian, Wu Yuan has calmed down a lot now. After all, compared to characters like Sword Demon and Blood Slaughter Monk, the entire Wu Yuan lineage can't match up to one of them. He only hates himself for not getting it right earlier. Zhang Jingfeng's death hand actually allowed him to get along with Gu Yao and Qi-Changjai, or if he had known such a result, he would recruit these 2 people to his side no matter what. She scoffed at Kui Zinza's involuntary behavior. She had to be honest and obedient, otherwise a 3rd-grade alchemist with a low level would not be able to find anyone except her. Because the number of monks who came to Anzhou is very wide, and the attention of various forces has been focused on Qi-Changjai, gradually, monks from Huangzhou and Dongzhou remembered the old things decades ago, so they went anonymous. The identities of alchemist Yao and physician Ye were gradually peeled off and revealed to all the forces. The Dingxian Pavilion's General Pavilion was also investigating this matter. As a result of the investigation, the 2 were actually under their noses, making the General Pavilion's executives feel dumbfounded, and then immediately passed 2 orders. One was for Wu Yuan, with a warning, one was for Zhang Jingfeng, so that he must take good care of the ancient alchemist who stayed on his side. The General Pavilion is curious again. What is the origin of the alchemist Su beside Qi-Changjai and Gu Yao? Wouldn't it be another fake identity? The identity has been revealed, and it is natural to know that Gu Yao is from below. He has been in the spiritual world for less than 100 years. Where did the uncle come from? There is a problem when you hear it, but now there is no need to break the casserole and ask to the end asterisk. The relationship with the sword demon can also be guessed. The older generation of monks know how much about the origin of the sword demon. Now they can guess why they accept Yan Yuanjing as a disciple. I am afraid that they will leave an inheritance below. Yuanjing was the sword cultivator who got his inheritance. But why it was involved with the blood demon monk, everyone did not understand. In other places, others can use the identity of the blood slaughter monk to attack them, but this is the dark state, and the monks in the dark state, as long as they are not on the opposite side of the entire spiritual world, they are all objects that need to be united and safeguard the whole. The order of the spiritual world does not allow the spiritual world to fall. What's more, for the demon cultivator, the blood slaughter monk is also the leader of the magic way. If you really want to gather firepower against the blood slaughter monk, I am afraid that the problem of the dark state has not been solved, and the spiritual world will usher in a Dao and demon war first. Therefore, Zhang Jingfeng discovered that in a short period of time, he had received an explicit hint from all parties that he had originally relied on the devil-devouring plant to open the situation of the dark state. He opened up, and he felt flattered because he had seen the world. The cultivators who followed him were even more pleasantly surprised, especially those who joined later, they were even more surprised. Who would have thought that the identities of alchemist Yao and cultivator Ye were fake, and that there was such a backer behind their real identities, and others had to be among them? One person can walk sideways in the spiritual world. Different from the atmosphere outside, the Dan Alliance seemed very depressed. The high-level officials of the Alchemy Alliance gathered in the conference hall, and the wall facing the gate was suddenly found with a blood-colored skull printed on it, which made them feel better. What does that guy mean? Leaving a blood skull as a warning to threaten us. It should be certain now that the alchemist Su Yan who appeared in Fengming City was Su Chen back then. He should have gone to a hidden place to reshape his body after disappearing for decades. No wonder fellow Daoist Peng felt that this alchemist Su has more spiritual energy than others, that is called Guyao, and he cultivated it. Is it so close that we are giving up that thing because of such a threat? Yeah, when will it be our Danzo's turn to have a demon to point fingers? If I tell you, we should use our connections to kill this demon first, and it will be considered a scourge to the spiritual world. I agree too. Otherwise, if I was threatened by him this time, will I be threatened by him next time? If it goes on like this, what reputation do we have in Danzo? Su Chen is a disciple of our Danzo. When is it his turn to be an outsider? He didn't solve it in the past, so what's the point of doing it again now? These voices are getting louder and louder, and each one is righteous, as if the blood slaughter monk is the public enemy of the entire spiritual world. Monks, they are standing on the side of justice. In order to protect the safety of the spiritual world, we must eliminate this scourge and restore the peace of the spiritual world. In fact, they know it well. Compared to the fear of the blood slaughter monk, the treasure is more determined to them. After getting the treasure, Danzo can go a step further. I believe that in addition to the sword demon then and the blood slaughter monk, other great powers of tribulation will stand on their side. Such a voice was very contagious, and the initial timid voice was quickly suppressed, and the next few bigwigs were transferred to another secret room to continue their discussions. These people were all involved in the robbery. Alchemists, for them, what are the defenses to come back again, with the lessons of the last time? This time, they can design more perfect. The upgraded version of the exorcism pill finally finalized the pill recipe with the cooperation of Guyao and Qi Changjai. The same as the cultivation method of the devil-devouring plant, after the two confirmed the effect of the upgraded version of the exorcism pill, they handed over the pill recipe. It was given to Zhang Jingfeng, and they only took 20% of the profits. This kind of pill has always been monopolized by the Pill Alliance. After Zhang Jingfeng got the pill recipe, he quickly recruited a batch of pill masters to step up refining, and quickly sold the pill in the dark state. This time it was no longer Yao pill master. they directly used the name of alchemist Guyao. As for alchemist Suyan, I still use it for the time being. This name really attracted some cultivators who came for their reputation. The monks who pretended to be deaf and dumb before, seeing Zhang Jingfeng as a bachelor, didn't know what to say. This fellow is too cunning, isn't this just under the banner of the sword demon, and he will be in the dark state in the future. Who dares to touch Zhang Jingfeng's people? The cultivator who originally came to Guyao's name, but after taking it, he found that the effect of this medicinal pill was better than that of the medicinal pill of the same type of pill alliance, and it quickly spread in the dark state, causing an uproar. He was able to defeat the alchemist cultivated in Lingzhou before, but now he has compared the same type of exorcism pills in Lingzhou. Could it be that the alchemist named Guyao is really better than the alchemist cultivated in Lingzhou? Those with discerning eyes could immediately see that this alchemist named Guyao was afraid that he was going to collide with the Alchemy Alliance. If you really want to fight to the end, wouldn't it make it difficult for them? How will they stand in line then? Dan League can't afford to offend, and Sword Demon's old man can't afford to offend either. Let's worry about the future. The medicinal pills researched by the ancient alchemist have good effects, and the price is not as high as that offered by the Alchemy Alliance. Why not buy them? Unconsciously, many cultivators have two items on their bodies, one is the demon-devouring plant and the other is the exorcism pill. Needless to say, with these two things in hand, the danger of walking in the dark state is greatly reduced. The monks at the middle and low levels will inevitably exchange interest with each other when they meet each other. The monks who are prepared with these two things will not say anything bad. There is a temporary settlement of monks. The monks who go out to hunt will visit this place after completing their tasks, exchanging items and the news they have obtained. In this settlement, you can see a lot of alien plants taking root outside the cave, and many branches sticking out. It swayed in the air, but people walking around didn't take it seriously when they saw the scene. Everyone knows that these swaying branches are capturing the free magic energy in the air, and it is precisely because of these alien plants that the air in the temporary settlement is much fresher. Compared with the past, it has improved a lot. Everyone was talking when another group of cultivators came outside, and they were surrounded by sharp-eyed cultivators as soon as they arrived. Everyone, slow down, don't grab it. This time we brought a lot of exorcism pills from Dingxian Pavilion. Everyone has a share, but each person only has one bottle. Although a cultivator surnamed Zhang had not used up the exorcism pill he had prepared before he left the city, he was prepared for such a pill, so he also went up to grab a bottle and returned to their small team with satisfaction. Not everyone in the small team he was in felt that this medicinal pill was good, and there were die-hard fans of the Alchemy Alliance. From the point of view of die-hard fans, this surname Guyao is only a little talented and accomplished, but he dares not know how tall the sky is and how many years he has passed down on Lingzhou, which means that the bosses of Lingzhou have no general knowledge with him. Otherwise, in front of a first-grade second-grade alchemist, how could a third-grade alchemist have the right to speak? The use of this medicinal pill may leave some sequelae. The medicinal pill of the Dan League has been verified for many years. Yeah, it's really that simple to research a new medicinal pill? Think it can come out with just a little bit of lip service? Another cultivator on the same team moved his mouth, but in the end he didn't say anything. Just looking at the two of them was a bit like looking at a fool. He had come into contact with a cultivator who also came from other continents. During the chat, he said that there were some geniuses from them. The one who heard him talk the most was an alchemist named Guyao. So I heard that it was the medicinal pill he made and bought it without hesitation. Of course, on the surface, everyone will not arbitrarily accuse the Dan League of being bad. Beijing Ling's whose power is deeply rooted and not so easily shaken, but the high price of the medicinal pills launched by the Dan League is an undeniable fact. By the way, you all know about the Maguang section in the Blood Moon sect nearby. It is said that the suzerain's daughter originally had a marriage contract with the young suzerain of the Maguang section. I want to say that fortunately they haven't held the Dao companion ceremony, otherwise going to Mo Guangzong's side. I'm afraid I won't be able to escape this disaster. Don't talk about it. I heard that the real cause and murderer have not been found so far, and those forces are too protracted. Maybe there are competitors of the Mguang sect stirring up the mud. Once the Mo Guangzong is destroyed, the territory they occupied was not all divided up by other forces. What? The chatting person paused. Did you hear the screams? No, something happened. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 473. The screams were mixed with cries for help, getting closer and closer to this temporary settlement, and many people rushed out to check what was going on. The consciousness let go and swept around, and the cultivators' faces changed greatly, and they quickly put away the cave and shouted, "No, our temporary station is surrounded by unknown forces, this station is abandoned." This kind of temporary settlement is inherently mobile, and the cultivators who often travel abroad are very familiar with this set, and they are all ready for it. When they just walked out of the station, they saw more than a dozen monks in embarrassed shape flying here, and they shouted with great joy, "Fellow Daoist in front, save us, we are the disciples of Blood Moon sect, Blood Moon." The sect was besieged by monsters, and the sect master told us to scatter and escape to report. What? Monster? Blood Moon sect was besieged. The monks at the station were shocked, especially before there were people talking about the Blood Moon sect, but is the sect going to be destroyed following the Mo Guangzong? It's the things behind. They are no longer monks, but monsters without pain and intelligence. They are humanoid puppets and monsters. Some of them are disciples of our sect, but they have changed, a monk who rushed over quickly explained Deo. After saying this, the energy was released, and he fell down. A monk rushed over to rescue him, and quickly filled him with a pill to help him recover his spiritual power, and a monk with a high level of cultivation came out to temporarily organize monks. We are surrounded on all sides, let's not spread out, focus on one direction. Breakthrough, if those are really unconscious monsters, don't be soft-hearted. Okay, let's listen to the seniors. Everyone, be careful. If you are scratched by the monster, you must expel the magic energy quickly. Otherwise, if you are eroded by the magic energy, you will follow their footsteps, the cultivator hurriedly reminded after waking up. What? The cultivator was shocked when he heard it, and now he is even more desperate to rush out. The monks of the organization chose to go to the nearest direction to the next settlement, and led the other monks to rush over. In a blink of an eye, they saw hundreds of so-called monsters surrounded them. As long as you carefully discern their expressions, you can express them. The appearance is no different from that of the people on his side, but his expression is stiff, his eyes are dull, and he clearly only has a human-shaped body. Kill. As long as someone rushes out, quickly send Bei to the nearest city. Kill. After doing it, I can find that these things are more unusual. They seem to be tireless, attacking the monks constantly, and they are shocked that they can automatically absorb the demonic energy outside, and the demonic energy can be repaired and stay in them. Physical injuries, no wonder the disciples of the Blood Moon sect called them monsters. What else could they be called monsters? A Zhang Xiu of the small team was rushed by one of the monsters from behind to break through his defense, and his back was replaced with a claw. The two companions next to him quickly came to help and cut off the two arms of the monster. After the head was chopped off again, the monster fell to the ground, but it was still not dead, and he wanted to get up and attack the monk. The scratched cultivator John quickly took out the exorcism pill and took it. He was also afraid. Before, they saw a cultivator being hugged by a monster and biting his flesh. It didn't take long for the cultivator to be corroded by the magic energy. The black air filled his face, and when the black air permeated his entire face, he no longer knew his companion and attacked his companion. "Friend Zhang, you have a lot of black blood on your back. Okay, now the blood has turned red, it's alright." Hearing this, Cultivator Zhang felt a lot more relaxed, and quickly took another pill for healing. He obviously felt that the wound on his back was healing, and he and other companions rushed out to kill the enemy with all their strength. I don't know how long it took to kill. I often see the monk being dragged down by those monsters, only to hear the screams and the sound of help, but it was too late to turn around and go back to save, so I could only continue to flee. When the spiritual power is exhausted, take the medicinal pills to supplement the spiritual power, that is, you must not stop. Once you stop, there is probably no chance of surviving. When they finally got rid of the group of monsters behind, Cultivator Zhang and several people collapsed in their bodies, but they still did not dare to stop and rest. Everyone took turns leading the way, giving the other companions a chance to adjust their breath. There used to be 17 monks in a small group of them, but now there are only 4 of them here, and the others are likely to be gone if they are not scattered. Accidents are still unacceptable. Suddenly, the cultivator who led the way twitched, and the aircraft he controlled was about to fall. It's not good, the demonic energy in Lu Dao's body has not been completely exorcised. Quickly, take another exorcism pill. Immediately someone took over the control of the aircraft, and Cultivator Lu took out the medicine pill with trembling hands. He obviously took the medicine pill. Why is there still demonic energy in his body? Brother Zhang immediately took out a medicinal pill and put it in his mouth. "Use mine first." Xiu was a die-hard loyalist who stood on the side of the pill alliance before. When he saw others selling the exorcism pills from Dingxian Pavilion, he didn't care at all. Xiu clearly saw that he had just used the medicine pill, but he still looks like this now. I am also suspicious of the medicinal pills of the Dan League. Is the quality really so much worse than that of Dingxian Pavilion? Lu Xiaoxiu's wound was on his arm. Not long after taking the medicinal pill, the healed wound opened again, and black blood spilled from the crack. Zhang Xiaoxiu immediately caught the blood with a jade bottle and sealed it up until the blood turned from black to black. When it was bright red, Lu Xiaoxi's complexion turned red, and the convulsions all over his body stopped. Zhang Xiu and the other 2 looked at each other, and they were also afraid. Some of them bought the exorcism pills because they wanted to get a lot cheaper, but they didn't expect to save a life because of it. I decided. After returning to the city, I immediately went to Miaoxian Pavilion to buy 10 bottles and 8 bottles to take with me. Yeah, I didn't expect that the medicinal pills made by the ancient alchemist would be so effective. Dao Zhang, fortunately, I listened to your persuasion to buy it, otherwise. After that, Lu Xiaoxi didn't have any more problems, and the person also woke up. It's not that he didn't perceive the situation on him. They didn't know how the others were, but after arriving at the nearest city, they wanted to report the situation to the people in the city lord's mansion, and at the same time spread the situation they encountered in the city. The monks I heard couldn't believe what they said, and the Blood Moon sect was really gone? Impossible. Before some of the monks set off to check the situation at the Blood Moon sect, the 4 were taken away by the people of the city lord's mansion, but they could not stop the spread of the news. When another group of monks who escaped arrived in another city to report the news spread faster in the dark state, and it was confirmed that the entire Blood Moon sect was in a mess, and no monks who survived were found. After Guangzhou, the second large sect that was destroyed reappeared, and the dark state was shaken. Zhang Jingfeng hurried into Guyao and Su Chen's pill room from outside. There is another big incident. The Blood Moon sect is gone. Only a few disciples were rescued by the nearby monks. A temporary monk settlement was also destroyed. Only less than half of the people escaped and ran to the nearest city. Report. Guyao and Su Chen were both shocked when they heard it, and quickly put down what they were doing and came to ask for details. Although other small and medium-sized forces had problems after Mo Guangzhou, no major sects suffered, so the relevant forces could not help but relax their vigilance. Unexpectedly, the Blood Moon sect followed in the same footsteps. Look, this is the image brought out by the surviving monks. Zhang Jingfeng bought it at a special price. Gu Yao and Su Chen were shocked when they saw the image in the photo stone. This time the matter is really going to be a big trouble. If it can't be solved, Anzhou will change people's hearts. Got messy? By the way, it's also a good thing. Everyone who survived said that the exorcism pills that you made by Gu and Su are better than other pills, and they can drive away the devil energy in the body. When will those remaining demonic energy erode up again and turn the monk into a monster? So our store has received a lot of orders recently, but I'm worried that this incident will involve you too. Zhang Jingfeng was not as excited as others expected when he learned of the situation, but thought of the possible development in the future, which would suddenly push Gu Yao and Su Chen to the top of the limelight, and they both seemed to be in their early stage of acorns. Su Chen didn't raise any questions, because he knew better than Zhang Jingfeng the style of the people in the Dan League. This situation would definitely make those guys stare at Gu Yao, and they would make some sense out of it. Su Chen thought for a while and asked, "Does Zhang Xiao have the courage to reveal the formula of the exorcism pill? This pill recipe was made by the two of you, and the decision should be in your hands. As for myself, I don't think these profits can be compared with the lives of the entire dark state cultivator, which is more important." Zhang Jingfeng was very clear. Gu Yao glanced at Su Chen and agreed, "Then let's make it public. Before the Dan League has any action, let's make the Dan Fang public first. It is a contribution of Dingxian Pavilion and my uncle and I to Anzhou." Zhang Jingfeng did not hesitate to see the two of them, and said with admiration in his heart, "Let's do it now." After Zhang Jingfeng finished speaking, he left in a hurry. Just like what Gu Yao said, he must hurry up and implement it before the reaction of the Alchemy Alliance. Gu Yao and Su Chen continued to watch the photo stone left by Zhang Jingfeng. The situation on the image side was really bad. There was a scene where a monk was eroded by demonic energy and turned into a monster to attack his companions. The two walked all the way from Tianlin continent, and encountered a lot of things, but they felt that this time was the most difficult. The reason why Mo Guangzhou was destroyed last time has not yet been concluded, or is it blocked by high-level officials? Is it related to this time? Regarding Gu Yao's question, Su Chen could only shrug his shoulders, unable to give an answer. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 474. In several shops under the name of Zhang Jingfeng, the exorcism pills were snapped up by the monks who came by the wind, but there are still many monks gathered here, waiting for the next batch of exorcism pills to come out. More and more news has confirmed that the exorcism pill here is more effective than the demon elimination pill provided by the Alchemy Alliance. As long as a high-grade exorcism pill can completely remove the demonic energy that has invaded the body, if it is a middle-grade exorcism pill, the magic pill needs to be taken 3 times before and after, and it can also be removed. However, for the demon elimination pill provided by the Pill Alliance, for the demonic energy that has mutated this time, even if it is a high-grade pill, there will still be some stubborn demonic energy in the body. Just take the last one, but it is impossible to completely remove these stubborn demonic energy, unless you take the top-quality demon elimination pill. But everyone knows that top-grade pills are hardly sold to the outside world, especially in the current increasingly tense situation. The top-grade pills of the Dan League have long been divided up by major forces, where is the share of middle and lower-level monks, not to mention their high-grade pills are still priced at the exorcism pill nearly tripled. When it was learned that only one high-grade pill could completely solve the problem, more and more cultivators crowded outside several shops with fixed sales and waited, causing a spectacle for a while, and a crowd of people surrounded several shops. This also alarmed the Dingxian Pavilion. Really or not? An alchemist with the surname Gu who has just been promoted to the third rank. The medicinal pills he made are better than the Alchemy Alliance with several first-rank alchemists in charge. Don't be fooled, this is specifically to coax you to store what about the spirit stone in the ring. Who are you? Why do you say such arbitrary things? Let me tell you, this is the result of our own life test. Others were not doing well, a monk shouted with an angry red face. I was before. He is also a loyal defender of the Alchemy Alliance, using their exorcism pill. I was almost demonized, or my friend fed me his own exorcism pill, and I got a little life back. The cultivator who was angry and refuted was the cultivator Lu who escaped from the monster. Although he couldn't control his state at the time, it didn't mean he didn't understand what happened to him. When he woke up, he regretted it and slapped himself several times. And from a die-hard loyalist of the Alchemy Alliance, he turned into a brainless fan of the ancient alchemist. I don't know how many times this kind of refutation happened outside the store. Seeing the suspicious eyes of others, Shiu even more simply, if you think I am fooling you, just bring a few elixir pills and an exorcism pill and go outside. Last time. Remember, if you don't bring a few elixir pills, remember to bring an exorcism pill, lest you be demonized. Others were stunned by his roar, and cultivator Zhang hurriedly ran out from behind and dragged his companions away. There was also some suspicion. Is Lingzhou, where the Alchemy Alliance is located, really worthy of being called a holy place for alchemists in the spiritual world? Otherwise, why can't even such a small problem be solved? Come on, the exorcism pill is here. I don't know who roared, and the monks outside rushed towards the store, almost squeezing the store away. In the restaurant opposite the shop, two people stood in front of one of the windows. One of them was Su Chen's defeated general, Shen Xing, and the other was a young and arrogant cultivator. Stepping on the reputation of our Lingzhou alchemist to rise to the top. Junior brother Shen, you are really good, this time you have lost the face of our Lingzhou alchemist. Shen Xing's eyes are dark and unclear. Ever since he came to Anzhou to meet with other alchemists in Lingzhou, this kind of situation has often happened. Shen Xing went from being embarrassed and angry at first to calm now. Shen Mao has embarrassed Lingzhou, but with you and senior brother Ji here, Shen believes that no one dares to doubt our Lingzhou. Ji Bei's eyes flashed a sneering look, and he even used junior brother Shen to say that Ji will convince these alchemists from outside, and he will regret choosing us in Lingzhou for the rest of his life. Master, this subordinate has grabbed the medicine pill. A monk ran up in 3 or 2 steps, holding a white jade bottle in his hand. Bring it here. Ji Bei took the jade bottle with a flick of his hand, poured out an elixir inside, and put it under his nose to sniff it. After putting the elixir back in the jade bottle, Ji Bei said to himself that junior brother Shen, just wait and watch the show. After finishing speaking, Ji Bei took his subordinates and guards and left, leaving Shen Xing alone to still watch the lively scene on the opposite side. When Ji Bei and his entourage also disappeared from the street, Shen Xing also took out a jade bottle and poured it out. The elixir is the exorcism elixir. When the exorcism pill was first released, Shen Xing sent someone to buy it. He heard that this pill was researched by Su Yan and Gu Yao, especially Gu Yao. He wanted to know that he was better than Su Yan. Where did you lose? There is also the alchemist named Gu Yao. He now knows that Su Yan is the same person back then. He did not take the house and rebuild it, but rely on others to cultivate others. Even this exorcism pill will also most of the honors go to that alchemist. Is this called Gu Yao? Can he be better than Su Chen back then? It's just that the pill formula has not been parsed since he got the pill, but what is certain is that the material value used in this pill is indeed lower than that of the elimination pill, but the effect is so good, he knows the pill alliance in the pill. The old guys are going to be happy. He understands Ji Bei's thoughts. He wants to get this medicine pill, then analyze the medicine formula, and then relaunch a demon eliminating pill based on the medicine formula, so as to suppress Gu Yao's exorcism pill. Shen Xing seemed despicable and shameless, but Ji Bei's gang would not think so. Ji Bei's brought the medicinal pills back to the Pill Alliance, and went into the pill room and began to analyze the exorcism pill. He was not the only one in the Pill Alliance who thought so. Ji Bei's competitors also obtained pills through other methods and wanted to take the lead. Get an upgraded version of elixir. Another medicinal pill collapsed in front of Ji Bei's and turned into a pinch of powder that lost its potency. Ji Bei's face was extremely ugly. He had already analyzed most of the materials, but he was still missing the most crucial step. What is it? Stop him from restoring the real pill recipe? However, an alchemist from below, can it really make the genius alchemist cultivated by the Xianan men surrender? Looking at the last exorcism pill in the jade bottle, Ji Bei's hesitated. If he failed again this time, he would have no pills to use. Should he wait for the new pills to be delivered or continue to analyze them? This kind of scene happened in more than one place. Similarly, the senior officials of the Alchemy Alliance are also paying attention to this situation. They thought that it was not their turn to take action, but it was created by two third-grade alchemists, which made the young and arrogant third-grade Dan below. It's enough for the teacher to give it a try, so as not to let the Alchemy Alliance end up with a reputation for bullying others. What's the matter? None of them restored the pill recipe. Elder Zhao, no one has come out of the pill room until now. Several elders looked at each other. The voices outside were getting louder and louder, and the exorcism pill was becoming more and more popular. On the contrary, the demon elimination pill was the next choice after the exorcism pill could not meet the needs. Can hold your breath. Looks like we can't wait any longer, we don't have to let those two kids go crazy. Yes, do you really think that our Lingzhou Dan alliance is so easy to step on? Elder, it's not good, the big things outside are bad. An alchemist rushed in from the outside, ignoring the ugly faces of several elders, and hurriedly said, Dingxian Pavilion completely disclosed the prescription of the exorcism pill to the outside world. Now, it is the wishes of the two alchemists Gu Yao and Su Yan, so that the supply of exorcism pills will not be in short supply, and the safety of more monks can be guaranteed. Several elders, I got the pill recipe. What? Let me take a look at the pill recipe. Ji Bei's, who finally came out of the pill room, didn't expect this to be the first thing he heard. Superior. Annoying. Ji Bei's took the pill and looked at it quickly. The more he looked, the paler his face became. Because his thinking was contrary to this pill from the very beginning, the further forward he went, the more he could not return to the right path. Several elders present also saw the pill recipe. At first glance, you can see that this pill recipe wins the magic pill. The most important thing is that the value of the materials used is also much lower, and most of them are obtained locally. Part of it is clearly the material that has been mutated and eroded by demonic energy. Could it really be the pill recipe that these two people researched after they first came to Anzhou? Could it be that after Su Chen returned to the spiritual world, his alchemy technique was even better than before? The idea of this alchemy recipe and the alchemy used are not consistent with the path taken by the alchemist of Lingzhou, but they cannot but admit the subtleties. Did you just admit defeat? They can't help but regret that they didn't start earlier, and the Alchemy Alliance can start to be stronger, but now the Alchemy Alliance is in a passive state. There are two ways now, one is to come up with a better pill recipe, and the other is to recruit those two people to jointly study ways to deal with monsters. I think it's better to use the two methods together. Take out the pill first, and you can't let those two guys have the upper hand. All right. The complete disclosure of the exorcism pill recipe made the monks from all over the dark state rejoice. Some of the impatient guys before, especially the demons, wanted to rush into the shop and loot the pill masters back and make pills for them, that is, the devil Shiu couldn't stand the erosion of that strange demonic energy. The monks who surrounded several shops finally dispersed, and the guys in the shop also wiped the sweat from their foreheads. The previous battle was frightening. Their clothes were ripped off one by one, and their hair was scattered. Some have a shoe on their foot that has gone somewhere. They also know that although their shop sells exorcism pills, the pill recipe belongs to both Guyao and Su Yan. The two alchemists are really admirable, and they have such great courage to reveal the alchemy recipe to the public. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 475. The formula of the exorcism pill quickly spread all over the dark state, causing the ingredients of the pill to become the target of all parties, and gathered alchemists to step up the refining of the exorcism pill. The dark clouds finally faded a little. With the exorcism pill, when facing the monster that can assimilate the monk, the safety is also a little more guaranteed. The names of Guyao and Su Yan also benefited the monks of all parties with the exorcism pill, and they were spread throughout the dark state. Even if the existence of the pill alliance was taken into account, it was inevitable to praise these two in private. There are also people with unique vision who made the right move. Otherwise, after a while, not many people will remember their exorcism pill, but an upgraded version of the pill alliance, or some kind of exorcism pill or something. Medicine pill. Yeah, the path taken by these alchemists in Lingzhou is getting narrower and narrower, and they have forgotten the original intention of Senior Pill Immortal to teach alchemy in Lingzhou, and now I hope that these little guys can break the spirit of Lingzhou. Situation. Now the Alchemy Alliance is one move away, I'm afraid it won't give up. Facing the Alchemy Alliance, the two alchemists in Dingxian Pavilion today may not be able to hold on. Liao Su, you say so. A monk who was wearing a pure white monk's uniform and was spotless, so clean that it was unbelievable that he was actually a demon cultivator, and his hands were stained with a lot of blood. There's no need to stay any longer, I'll leave it here to fellow deists. Rong Xiaoseng bids farewell. After the Buddha's name was announced, the figure of this beautiful monk disappeared in front of several people. The monk who had just made a false joke pointed in the direction of his disappearance in disbelief. This monk just ran away like this? Leave this big stall to how many of us? Come on, it's not that you didn't know it, you chose to pick Su, now that person is back, and those guys in Lingzhou are staring at that person again. How can Li Su let go, otherwise why should you let go of what you are doing? I made a special trip to Dongzhou. Don't think we don't know that the same treasures that reshape the body are still exchanged from you. This, I didn't say anything. The cultivator's tone was extremely perverted. Let's hold on for a few more old guys, I hope the troubles here will be solved before we ascend, and what happens to the spiritual world in the future will depend on their juniors. Although the blood slaughter monk is famous in the spiritual world and has the effect of stopping children from crying at night, it is not worth mentioning to the few present. Each of them has reached the peak of the spiritual world today, leaving behind many bones. The souls who died directly or indirectly in their hands, are not necessarily less murderous than those made by the blood demon monk. Qi Changjai walked out of the sword formation with a slaughter aura. This time, he entered physically, which was a little different from the previous feeling. He didn't know how long he stayed in the sword array, but outside the array, it was only a short month. It was precisely because he knew the situation of the sword array that Qi Changjai was relieved to go in, otherwise he couldn't let go of Guyao outside, and now it's dark. The situation in the state is complicated, and it is also targeted by Lingzhou. If it wasn't to improve his strength, Qi Changjai would not have delayed even this month. How's it going outside? Qi Changjai asked when he saw Yan Yuanjing, who was guarding outside. The Blood Moon sect is gone. Yan Yuanjing tilted his head for a while, and then added, Alchemist Gu disclosed the recipe of the exorcism pill, and together with Alchemist Su, he became famous in the dark state. Qi Changjai was not only unhappy, but even more worried in his heart. I have to hurry up. Yan Yuanjing nodded. Master asked me to come with you, this is also my training. Okay. With Yan Yuanjing joining in, Chi Changjai is naturally welcome, because he represents Senior Sword Demon. Obviously this was what the Sword Demon had already ordered, so the two of them didn't say goodbye to the Sword Demon and left the little secret realm in a hurry. The pressure on Guyao and Zhang Jingfeng was relieved by releasing the Danfang. In addition to the research, Guyao and Su Chen also paid attention to the situation of the Blood Moon section. Except for the very few survivors, none of the other disciples survived. However, so far, no parties have been able to find out the source of this sudden change. Where, just like the situation of Mo Guangzhong, it has become an unsolved case. The problem of Mo Guangzhong is led by the Dan Alliance, but no result has been given so far, and the Blood Moon sect has followed in the footsteps, that is, the dark state forces that support the Dan Alliance. It is inevitable to have an opinion, the Dan Alliance. There will be no false name, even two little-known little alchemists can't compare. If not, let others come as soon as possible. Zhang Jingfeng also said worriedly, it turned out that the demonic beasts of the dark state were only mutated under this kind of environment for a long time, but now it is different. The speed of transformation is too fast. Although the monks have exorcism pills can prevent oneself from being demonized, but the monsters living here still have some alien beasts that are not fully demonized, but there is no way to stop this process. If the source cannot be solved, in the long run, the entire dark state will become the domain of monsters, and the monks and various forces will have to move out, and even this situation will spread to other places outside the dark state. It was in such a situation that Zhang Jingfeng also agreed with the release of Dan Fang, instead of lavishing money on the odd goods. Although he was a businessman, he still had a bottom line. Young Master Zhang, Wei Wei hurried in from the outside. Alchemy Alliance has come. They want to invite Alchemist Su and Alchemist Gu to go to Alchemy Alliance to investigate the demonization together. They are already at the door. Thinking of the situation at the door, Wei Wei's face was not very good. He forced people to stay outside and came in to report, but those people showed incredible expressions. It seemed that they should open the door and let them swagger in and take people with them. Go, but is that please? So judging by their attitude, Wei Wei knew that the visitor was not good. What? I'm going to see them. Zhang Jingfeng was shocked. When Guyao and Dan Shisu entered their territory, wouldn't they have the final say? Zhang Jingfeng hurriedly went out to negotiate with the people from the Dan Alliance. Su Chen and Guyao looked at each other. Guyao asked, Senior, what do you think? Su Chen got up and patted the invisible dust on the robe and said, then take a trip to Baibei. Didn't you say that you have never been able to get in touch with the scene? I believe there will be no shortage of them there. Now that the matter has not been resolved, what can they do? At most, you and I will make the results, and the results belong to them. Guyao's original intention was the same, so he didn't have any thoughts of entering the enemy's camp. Besides, he always felt that the master was paying attention to the situation of the senior and would not let the senior get into a crisis. Then let's go, lest young Master Zhang make them angry. The two walked out of the pill room together, and Wei Wei felt a little uncomfortable. Pill Alliance's approach was too bullying. He really hoped that Guyao and Su Yan would grow to the level of suppressing Ling Zhou. When the two followed Wei Wei to the door, they heard two arrogant voices confronting Zhang Jingfeng. Zhang Xiao, this is an order from the elders of the Alchemy Alliance. Could it be that Zhang Xiao wants to stop the important affairs of our Alchemy Alliance? If something goes wrong, can Zhang Xiao take this responsibility? Su Chen sneered, very abrupt, causing the two men and Zhang Jingfeng to look back. Su Chen said very single, it seems that the Alchemy Alliance is not that powerful, so the problem has not been solved so far. I want to find a solution. We two alchemists will take responsibility. Who are you? Dare to slander our Pill Alliance, one of them yelled angrily. Su Chen said even more bluntly, isn't this what you said yourself? Oh, just because young Master Zhang stops you, you will become a sinner and take responsibility. How incompetent is your Alchemy Alliance? You are bold. The man was furious, and he attacks Su Chen. Stop it! That's the alchemist Su you want to invite, Zhang Jingfeng said in shock. But I don't know if it was intentional or it couldn't be stopped. Anyway, Zhang Jingfeng's words didn't have the slightest effect. The cultivator's attack went straight to Su Chen and Gu Yao. Zhang Jingfeng and Wei Wei were shocked and shot together to intercept. At this moment, there was a sudden click in the air, and a thunderbolt fell with an extremely sharp sword energy. The attack suddenly disintegrated, and the person who shot it was also impacted. Hold your body down. You dare to attack the people of the Dan Alliance. The other party also wanted to strike first. But Gu Yao didn't care what they said, and cried out in alarm, "Brother, yeah, you're back." It was Qi Changjai who arrived in time to see that the people of the Dan League were so arrogant and rude, and were furious. As soon as Gu Yao finished speaking, two figures landed in the courtyard. One behind the other, it was Qi Changjai and Yan Yuanjing. Seeing these people, Yan Yuanjing scolded mercilessly, "Go away." If it was late, it would be fine, but Yan Yuanjing was not known to a few people in Anzhou. Even if he did not know him, he had to find a way to get his image, so as not to offend people without knowing it. So these two people never expected that Yan Yuanjing would appear with Qi Changjai, so they could only bear it, and wanted to speak harshly to Gu Yao and Su Chen, but Yan Yuanjing's eyes were cold. Sweeping over, the two suddenly muted their voices. Seeing this, Gu Yao thought that the name of the sword demon was really useful, and when he saw that the two of them were defeated and wanted to leave, he shouted, "Since the Dan Alliance has come to invite me, my uncle and I will naturally go over. Please take the two of you first, let's chat with friends. If the visitor has to bear it, then we will wait for the two big drivers." The monks gathered outside the door because of the movement here, but they watched a good show. They thought that the people from the Alchemy Alliance were too domineering. This is clearly not taking Gu Alchemist and Su Alchemy seriously, and I still don't know what to ask for. Qi Changjai looked at Gu Yao's situation and said with concern, "They haven't come to trouble you before, have they?" Gu Yao smiled and said, "No, it just happened to let you and Daiyu Yan meet, thank you Daiyu Yan." Qi Changjai was relieved after this. Yan Yuanjing also nodded to Gu Yao, and then spit out two words, "No need." Zhang Jingfeng took the opportunity to say, "It's better to sit down and talk. Anyway, I was offended. Looking at the posture of the Dan League, there is no room for relaxation, so why rush? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 476. Gu Yao really wanted to ask Yan Yuanjing something, and went to the living room. He couldn't wait to ask about the situation on the Wanluo continent, and who came to the spiritual world before Yan Yuanjing. "It's good over there," so is Ling Yunzang. Yan Yuanjing's words were concise and clear. When Gu Yao was about to urge him, Yan Yuanjing added, "Daiyu Yan and Daiyu Zhou came to the spiritual world first, Daiyu Tian and Daiyu Hu also came to the spiritual world 5 years after they left, and Daiyu Tian and I came from the same year. I haven't heard from them since I came to the spirit world." Gu Yao couldn't help but get worried. So uncle and the others have been in the spiritual world for 20 or 30 years, but they haven't heard any news about them. I don't know where they are now. The spiritual world is really too big. It's a good place to look around. He had been incognito before, so his uncle and the others couldn't get much information about him. This time, his reputation was hit by accident, and maybe it would also reach his uncle and the others. Qi Changjai patted Gu Yao's shoulder, "Wait here, I'll accompany you to find Xiaoao. Now it's better for uncle and Fei Rong if they don't come here. It's better to stay in one place to practice and improve your strength." "Daoist Yan, where's my mother?" Yan Yuanjing said truthfully, "I have contacted Daiyu Tian and the others, and Yaoi will stay in Lingyun sect for a while, and he will not come to the spiritual world so soon. This is similar to Qi Changjai's guess. Whether it's him and Guyao, or his mother Qi Xian, the practice time is not long. Compared with other monks, it can be said that he is quite young. His mother has deep feelings for Ling Yunzong, so he will stay for a while. Time protects the growth of sect disciples. Guyao was relieved to hear it. When he and Qi Changjai had established themselves in the spiritual world, it would not be too late for his mother to come again. Yan Yuanjing also pays more attention to Ling Yunzong because of his relationship with Qi Changjai. He knows about the monks who are close to Qi Changjai. As for the others, he has always been alone and focused on cultivation. He knows only a few things. Let's go, don't let the people from the Alchemy Alliance wait for a long time to have something to say. Guyao didn't want to leave too much talk for the Alchemy Alliance, and he was very happy to meet his old friend. Okay, Qi Changjai was glad that he came back in time. Yan Yuanjing also followed Guyao and Qi Changjai without saying a word, and went out together. Su Chen was by Guyao's side, and he was very familiar with Yan Yuanjing, and he was not surprised by his temperament. Yan Yuanjing wasn't too curious about this senior Su, even though he had never seen this one by their side before. Looking at the attitude of Guyao and Qi Changjai towards him, they knew that they could be trusted. Yan Yuanjing never doubted his friends, and the rest was not important. Zhang Jingfen was also curious about their way of getting along. He only had people bring refreshments to entertain the guests, but he didn't come in, leaving room for them to talk privately. After coming out, Guyao remembered that Dingxian Pavilion's business was almost all over the spiritual world, and it was much more convenient to ask him for news than to search aimlessly with Qi Changjai. He made eye contact with Qi Changjai, and Qi Changjai knew him. Thinking about it, he opened his mouth and told Zhang Jingfen about it. Zhang Jingfen naturally has nothing to say. His status in Dingxian Pavilion has risen a lot. It is thanks to Tuo Gaiao and Su Chen, and because of his status, he can use more resources, and it is also convenient to help Guyao and the others. This matter. Guyao took out a blank jade slip, printed the images of the four uncles into the jade slip, and handed it to Zhang Jingfen. Then I will ask Zhang Xiao about this matter. Try not to reveal our relationship with us. If you can find out their relationship traces, if they encounter any trouble, please ask Zhang Xiao to reach out. It's easy to say. Zhang Jingfen took the jade slip cautiously, took a look at it in person, and remembered the appearance of the four of them. Leave this matter to me, you can rest assured, and compared to the help you gave me, this matter is really insignificant. When Qi Changjai came back, he used his own face. This time, Guyao and him came out of the residence together. In the eyes of the cultivators, it attracted a lot of attention, and this kind of appearance and temperament was quite eye-catching even in the spiritual world. Because of the appearance of Zhang Jingfen and Yan Yuanjing, as well as the fake face that Su Chen still wore, the cultivators who saw them could tell the identities of these two people at a glance, especially when Qi Changjai first came back and forced Dan to retreat. The move by the cultivator of the alliance has already confirmed his identity as a sword cultivator of the Thunder Department. I've seen them. Where did you meet them? Do you know them? I didn't see the person, but the image. I went to the secret realm of the Absolute Pond, and when I came out, I brought the images of these two people. At that time, it was said that two geniuses appeared in the barren state. It's no wonder that Zhang Jingfen got to know them. When the secret realm of Jueqi was opened, Zhang Jingfen made Dingxian Pavilion's business in the secret realm of Jueqi. I'll just say that others don't know their details, so I went to pick them up in person. Zhang Jingfen, how could it not be clear? It's a pity that these two handsome male cultivators are actually a pair of Taoist cultivators. How disappointed we female cultivators are. We originally thought that we could get close to the ancient alchemist, so we can get some medicinal herbs. It is a good thing not to be slapped by fellow Daoist Qi. Along the way, The monks talked a lot. Zhang Jingfeng and Su Chen listened with interest. Yan Yuanjing had an expression from the beginning to the end, or had no expression, and everything was indifferent. The two cultivators who came over to invite people from the Alchemy Alliance but failed, but after returning, they scolded Guyao and the others in front of the elders, saying that none of them were complacent and did not take the Alchemy Alliance in their eyes. Guyao and Su Chen could have expected such a situation. At first glance, the two of them were not very generous, and could they bear the slap in the face? Both of them were mentally prepared that they would be made difficult when they came to the Alchemy Alliance, but they did not expect that when they arrived at the Alchemy Alliance, they were politely invited in. Even the cultivator who led them looked at them with a hint of fear. Guyao and Su Chen looked at each other in surprise. It was abnormal. This attitude was too abnormal. What happened again? When they came to the council hall, when they saw someone in the seat, their doubts were answered. Where is it that they are jealous of them? It is clearly that they are jealous of the backers behind them. Guyao and Qi Changjai looked at each other with smiles in their eyes, strode forward, and bowed to the people in the seat. I didn't expect to see Master again. How is Master lately? Sitting there is not the Master who threw the two of them on the island. After coming to the dark state, although the Master of Intuition was nearby, he never saw his uncle, but this time he appeared in the Alchemy Alliance, needless to say. Know what it is for. Guyao and Qi Changjai were very happy, but Su Chen was different. Seeing a monk in a white robe smiling like a flower on the seat, he almost jumped out of the door and his voice changed a little bit like a cat with blown fur. Stuttered, You, why are you here? Guyao was almost happy to hear this stammering sound. When did the senior speak so unfavorably? Obviously it was different for the master, otherwise, where would he be able to use the best treasures and other things found by the master with such peace of mind? Not only the master was present, but also the four elders of the Alchemy Alliance who were with him. They glanced at each other when they saw it. Needless to say, this person was Su Chen back then. This time, he ran to the side of the Pill Alliance to protect him, so annoying. After they glanced at Su Chen, they lowered their eyes again, so if they didn't admit it, they just assumed they didn't know the identity of this person. Ji Bei's, who was standing behind Elder Zhao, was annoyed. He didn't know much about the name of the blood slaughter monk, because on the surface he looked like an overly good-looking young monk. Ignoring the prestige of the elders and the Alchemy Alliance, I was very annoyed and scolded. Sure enough, even the elders of the Alchemy Alliance here can ignore it. I don't know the etiquette. Bai Zi, shut up, Elder Zhao reprimanded. Master Liao Su is respected here, and it's not wrong to salute him first. Saying it is a reprimand is actually defending your own disciple, and reminded the group of people who came in, it's enough to ignore them for now. Before Liao Su could speak, Ji Bei snatched it away and glanced at him lightly. If it wasn't for Elder Zhao's protection, it wouldn't be so simple. The name of the blood slaughter monk would have come for nothing. He looked at Guyao and Qi Changjai with a smile in his eyes. He was very fond of these two juniors. He was not impatient with him back then in Dongzhou, and he protected Su Chen all the way back to the spiritual world. He said with a smile, the greedy monks are very good, and you are also diligent, very good. Guyao and Qi Changjai were very happy that this time they were able to advance so quickly, thanks to the master's blessing, so they said, it's all due to the master's blessing. Then the two talents turned to the elders of the Alchemy Alliance present and bowed to them. I have seen all the elders asterisk. As for Su Chen, he clasped his fists lazily towards them. Even if he had seen the ceremony, Yan Yuanjing nodded and stood there still, but Zhang Jingfeng, who was not worried about following up, slapped the younger generation with a smile. After saying hello, Bai Jing represented Dingxian Pavilion, and his face was not good. But seeing Su Chen's appearance like this, Zhang Jingfeng was also very curious. He had a guess. It seemed that it was not Guyao and Qi Changjai who had a close relationship with the master, but the man who wanted to escape when he saw the master. Alchemist Su Yan, but what is his origin? For some reason, he thought of the information about the master that Gu Yao had asked him to check before, and he also looked over it. At that time, the master was angry with Lanyan. Isn't that Lanyan an alchemist in Lingzhou? Could it be? That alchemist did not die, but went down below for various special reasons, and is now back. I have to say, Zhang Jingfeng is the truth. Ji Bei's was even more angry. This surnamed Su is only a third-rank alchemist, so rude in front of the second-rank alchemist elder, Yu. Elder Zhao glanced at the master who seemed to be indifferent, and stopped the apprentice's words. Danchi Su seems to be doing well, so we can rest assured. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 477. After Gu Yao and Su Chen settled down in the Alchemy Alliance, Zhang Jingfeng said goodbye. How could he leave the stall? He only said that he would visit Gu Yao and the others regularly, obviously not worried about the Alchemy Alliance. But before leaving, I glanced at Master Su again, and felt that I was worrying too much. With this evil spirit, the people in the Dan Alliance would only blame Gu Yao and Su Chen if they couldn't think of it, and there was also Yan Yu Enjing, the sword demon. S disciple is here. Several elders in the Alchemy Alliance were also helpless. Not only did the disciples of the sword demon follow, but the shameless and skinless blood slaughter monk simply took root in their Alchemy Alliance. Who would dare to ask one to move elsewhere? Elder Zhao sighed. I thought it would be a good idea to get the two of them in, but I didn't expect the demon monk to follow along, and Yan Yu Enjing. This is equivalent to inviting a half-sized Buddha. It's easy to get into trouble. Ji Bei's frowned and said, is that demon monk really that powerful? Because of the aura that has been restrained by the virtual, it looks extremely harmless. Elder Zhao glared at his apprentice angrily. That demon monk has been famous for a long time, and his strength is on the same level as that of the sword demon, even in the great power of transcending the calamity, and he is also at the top of his fighting strength. Bai Zi, you should act more cautiously in the future. This place can't compare to Lingzhou. Not everyone will give face to the Dan League, especially the unruly people like the demon monk. Ji Bei still wanted to refute, but in the end, he had to keep his mouth shut if he was in awe of Duji. Elder Zhao is from Xianeng sect, while Elder Li is from Lingyun building. He has learned a lot from Shen Xing at this time. He did not express much opinion, but it is impossible to say that he is not angry. This time he was planted in ancient times. Yao and Su Chen caused Ling Yunlu to lose a lot of face among the forces in Lingzhou. The third elder Xiang is from Pil Pavilion. Although Pil Pavilion people have the most say in Su Chen's matter, but now Pil Pavilion is declining under the tacit suppression of other parties. Su Chen's mood was very complicated when he had changed his mind. Elder Xiang is the youngest among the four elders present. When he joined the Pil Pavilion, everything about Su Chen was in the past, and he only heard about those past events from the elders of the division, so in terms of the seniority in the Pil Pavilion, Su Chen is still his elder. How can he point fingers at Su Chen? The fourth is Elder Yu from the most powerful Tianyun sect in Lingzhou, so he is more determined to win that treasure, so that Tianyun sect can truly become the most powerful sect in Lingzhou and even the entire spiritual world. To reproduce the glory of the Dan Pavilion in those days. Before that, he had been observing Gu Yao and Su Chen, and the appearance of the blood slaughter monk caught him by surprise. He didn't expect that after so long, the demon monk still couldn't let go of the obsession of the year, but it was long enough. Love, but this kind of long-term love is what Elder Yu disdains the most. If the demon monk could let go of this obsession, he would have already ascended to the upper realm with his aptitude, but now he has stayed in the spiritual realm for so long. For him, he will never be troubled by love. Let's invite the masters of Buddhism to participate in this matter. Buddhism has always been good at demonization. The other three elders immediately understood what Elder Yu meant. This was to ask people from the Buddhist sect to come and contain the demon monks. How could they disagree? Okay, just follow what the elders said. Su Chen was so embarrassed, especially since he was going to live in a yard with the bald donkey Su. He wanted to tell Guyao to let him stay in the space, but he felt that if he said this, Guyao and Qi Changjai would be in trouble. These two boys were too embarrassed for his predecessor, so they looked around, but didn't look at Su. He also murmured in his heart, this little monk actually looks better the longer he grows. Following Guyao can be considered to have seen a lot of beauties, but the little monk is the best. Seeing that Su Chen wanted to enter the room first and shut the door to cut off the sight of the outside world, he smiled knowingly, let's talk. What do we have to talk about? I'm tired, I need to adjust my breath. The tone was fierce, but when he heard it, he felt guilty and deliberately held out. Okay, said Liaxu with an excellent temper, then you go to rest first, and we will talk when you are free. Su Chen jumped into the room, the door slammed shut behind him, and Guyao and Qi Changjai outside stared at them, but they didn't expect Su Chen to be such a Su Chen, and the master would condone it enough. Yan Yuanjing turned a deaf ear and pointed to the next room where I lived. Okay. Guyao and Qi Changjai left the room next to Su Chen to the master, and watched them enter the other room with a smile, and then looked at Su Chen's closed door, still smiling, and they knew him by looking at him. In a great mood. Could there be anything bad? There is nothing more worthy of his joy than Su Chen's return to the spiritual world. Guyao came here because he really wanted to do something, so after he settled down, he took the initiative to look for opportunities to find out why the disciples of the Maguang sect died overnight and the reason for the demonization of the disciples of the Blood Moon section. It is best to check their bodies in person. See if there are any clues left in the body. It's just that he just came out of the yard where he was temporarily staying, and someone stopped him, trying to compete with him in alchemy. Guyao, who was stopped, didn't have a good face. Qi Changjai and Yan Yuanjing, the two sword cultivators, looked at the cultivator on the opposite side. They were all cold. Many. The other party relied on the fact that this was the site of the Dan Alliance, and the blood-slaughtered demon monk did not appear, so he insisted on the courage and said, "What? Don't dare to compare? Who knows how your reputation came from, and wants to step on our Ling Zhou Dan? It's not that simple to be a teacher, and now I know I'm afraid." It's too late. Deliberately use words to provoke Guyao, not only because he is afraid of losing to them, but also because his previous achievements are simply uncountable. It's a pity that Guyao didn't want to do what they wanted at all. He dared to say that as long as he opened this one, there would be endless people coming to him to test his alchemy skills. Can he still do things? He didn't ask Qi Changjai to help. He held down his arm and looked at the two provocative monks on the other side and said, "First of all, you made a mistake. It wasn't that I wanted to step on you, but you brought it to your door. The competition with Dan Master Gao Tian was a challenge initiated by Dan Master Gao, and between my uncle and Dan Master Shen, they also had their own positions, for the candidacy of Dingxian Pavilion, just like now, not me, it was you who came to provoke you. Proactively. I'm sorry, this time, I refused. As for the reputation outside, you can send someone outside to explain it according to your wishes. I don't care. Is this okay?" "Pay Papa," the sound of clapping from the back sounded. Guyao looked back and thought that Su Chen would not go out, but he didn't expect him to come. Su Chen looked at the two people with disdain. "Well said, with why do they say that if they want to compete, they will compete? Could it be that they invited us here to compete with you on alchemy? Then explain it as soon as possible." Then there was the sound of the proclamation of the Buddha, "Which is good, it's all here." Su Chen glared backwards. This little monk came to join in the fun. The two people who came out were the Pathfinder stones pushed out by others. First, they came to explore Guyao and Su Chen, but Guyao didn't want to compete with them at all, so he refused. There was something to say, but in a blink of an eye, the big guy, blood slaughter monk, came out. The two of them were so angry that they couldn't let go, so they had to walk away without even a word of coward. "Why are you here, senior?" Guyao asked with a smile, looking at Su Chen. Su Chen is still angry. "You didn't even call me, thought I was here to play." Guyao shrugged. "Then let's go together." The blood slaughter monk followed not far or near, but no one stopped the group of people wherever they went, and the two who came to challenge at first were rejected. Thanks to the deliberate propaganda of the two, it has already spread, so that many alchemists who want to overwhelm Guyao and Su Chen have to hold back their thoughts. "Can you be stronger? Aren't you afraid of being slapped by the blood demon monk?" Elder Zhao heard people report the situation, and Guyao and the others were coming here, waved his hands, and asked people to retreat. It was also useless, and he was frightened by such a simple matter. They originally wanted these alchemists to hold Guyao and Su Chen down. Unexpectedly, this alchemist named Guyao didn't follow their path, and what he said couldn't be refuted, especially when he said he didn't care about the reputation outside. What else can happen? How many alchemy masters would not have an unexpected reputation? Elder Zhao and the others didn't take Guyao's words seriously. Beijing's exorcism pills are being welcomed. Now if they say something against Guyao, those cultivators are afraid that they will defend him spontaneously. Therefore, in the eyes of Elder Zhao, Guyao is fearless. Let them come and see what results they can come up with. Besides, it's on our territory now. Elder Yu put down the teacup in his hand and said, "That's up to the elders. Then I'll ask Bai Zi to take them over there to see them, and I'll ask Bai Zi and the others to follow along." Elder Zhao replied, "and ask Ji Bai's and a few young alchemists to follow him." What happened? They are in control. So Guyao and the others met several young genius alchemists headed by Ji Bai's, including Shen Xing, but compared to the others, Shen Xing always had a sullen face, and several others also separated from him intentionally or unintentionally. Distanced, obviously not very popular. The eyes they looked at Guyao and Su Chen didn't have much good intentions, but because Yan Yuanjing, especially Su's existence, would not show these emotions naked. Ji Bai's introduced the identities of the several of them, and Guyao understood. Ji Bai's represented Xianengmen, and a person named Xiang Yudan represented Pill Pavilion. Guyao deliberately looked at him a few more times. It was relatively silent, and there were two people who belonged to the Tianyuan section. Guyao and Qi Changjai had also heard a lot about the reputation of the Lingzhou Tianyuan sect. These people are all third-rank alchemists, and they are definitely in the middle of the vertical force in Lingzhou, and there is a lot of room for improvement in the future, so they are the key training objects in their respective forces, and the real favored sons of Lingzhou. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 478. When Shen Xing knew about Su Yan's possible true identity, he was not as reluctant to let go of the fact that he lost to the opponent. That was a genius figure many years ago, who made the treasure recognize the owner and attracted the forces of the entire Lingzhou to hunt down. If he didn't have the ability, he would not believe that such a big commotion was made. Even today, some people still refer to that person. He only went to Fengzhou because of this, so of course he checked a lot of information and inquired about a lot of information before going there, so he knew that in that contest, Su Yan's alchemy skills were still somewhat restrained, because this is an alchemist who can use the soul refining technique, so he is not wrong to lose at all. If Su Yan let go of his hands and feet, he would only lose even worse, and may even leave a psychological shadow. Thinking like this, he turned his attention to Guyao again. This person should also inherit Su Yan's soul refining technique. It can be seen that the alchemy technique is also hidden. Seeing that his alchemy technique exceeds his spiritual power cultivation base, one can see his soul. The strength is higher than that of other alchemists. Such a person, Yi, is the most suitable for practicing soul refining. He also has some understanding of soul refinement, Some alchemists, reluctantly to practice soul refinement, will only cause backlash, not suitable for everyone. Guyao and his party followed Jibei's to the place where the monsters were imprisoned and the corpses were placed, and they had a casual conversation on the way. Jibei's and others were always sought after wherever they went, and Guyao and others didn't like it either. To deal with them, so even if Elder Zhao and others want to try a few juniors to test one or two, there is no way to achieve it. The underground space was guarded by cultivators layer by layer, and there was an array of restrictions surrounding isolation. Jibei's and others led the way, and Guyao and his party followed smoothly. Through the long passage, they came to a relatively empty but gloomy place. There were iron cages one by one, and one of the iron cages held a live monster. The monster slammed into the cage wildly. However, caused by the rebound of the ban on the cage, he fell to the ground and screamed. The cultivators here respected Jibei's and his party very much. When they saw them coming to salute respectfully, they looked at Guyao and the others with vigilance, as if they suspected that they were here to do bad things and destroy them. There are several corpses that have been dissected on the stone platform. It can be seen that the alchemists in the Alchemy Alliance have indeed thought of a lot of methods, and they are not conservative in their thinking. Guyao thought so. Jibei's pointed to one of the corpses and introduced, "These corpses were brought back from the Maguang section. I was surprised when I saw them for the first time. These corpses looked intact, as if they were asleep. However, their sea of knowledge destroyed, the brain is empty. What did the ancient alchemist think of when he saw this situation?" Guyao's expression was calm and did not change in the slightest. He said, "Is something parasitic in their brains, and then they devoured their brains. Whether it's a goo worm or a zerg that I've seen in my previous life, there is a similar existence, parasitic in the human brain. It can control people's actions, and even absorb the memory in the brain, perfectly playing itself, but when the worm leaves, the body will die." Jibei's asked in surprise, "Could it be that the ancient alchemist has seen this kind of thing?" Guyao raised his eyebrows when he saw the eyes of the other people. "I didn't deduce this based on the facts on the surface. It was Master Ji who told me that these corpses were empty-headed, plus what I heard. The abnormal situation of the young sect master of Maguang sect, so let's make a bold guess. At that time the young sect master's brain or sea of consciousness has already been followed by this kind of thing, or at that time the young sect master is no longer the young sect master himself." Jibei snorted and said that it was like this. "We were ancient alchemists who had seen that thing, so it would be of great help to us." What a pity. Guyao didn't care whether they believed it or not. He asked himself, is there nothing left in their brains? Based on this, we should be able to find clues. Jibei's face was hesitant. His brain was devoured. What was left? What can be inferred? At this time, Xiang Yudan, who had been silent, said, "Alchemist Gu is right. I did find something on the corpse, and it must be left by that thing." Jibei's, Shen Xing and others also looked at him, especially Jibei's, who was a little unhappy. "You didn't mention it to us before." Xiang Yudan's expression was indifferent. "When I came in for autopsy, you said that there was nothing to check. Nothing can escape from my consciousness. Besides, I haven't been able to find out any results. I want to collect more clues." Guyao and Su Chen looked at each other. It turns out that these corpses were only dissected by Yudan? Others don't agree. Guyao asked tentatively, "Can I take a look?" Xiang Yudan nodded, then took out a transparent crystal bottle and handed it to Guyao. Through the bottle, you could see clearly what was inside. "I didn't know what liquid was in it, and some black silk was soaked in it." Guyao's eyes flashed. "It's too different. Could it be that this situation is really similar to the kind of bugs encountered in the interstellar world before?" Jibei's frowned at this thing, and his expression seemed a little disapproving. What could this thing explain? However, Xiang Yudan noticed Guyao's expression and decided that this was someone who thought the same as himself, and became a little interested. What does alchemist Gu think this is? Gu Yao guessed, when that kind of thing is wrapped around the brain and even replaces the sea of knowledge, the cultivator's own consciousness no longer exists. This thing has to control the cultivator so that people can't see the abnormality, and may secrete a lot of such black silk, come to control the words and deeds of this body, so that outsiders can't see the slightest difference, and even the breath can be simulated. Su Chen felt goosebumps all over his body when he heard it. I don't know how Gu Yao said such words calmly. Don't you think that just imagining it makes your scalp tingle? But if the young sect master of Mo Guangzhou was really in the situation mentioned by the ancient alchemist, then he should have died at that time. It is impossible for the Mo Guangzhou to pass the soul card left by him and not find it. Ji Bei's grabbed a point and retorted. Gu Yao glanced at him, but found that Xiang Yudan's eyes glowed slightly, and he seemed very interested. He speculated, maybe his sea of consciousness was not completely swallowed up at that time, but it was no longer dominant. This thing to be able to easily steal the cultivator's brain, it should be that the secreted substance has the function of numb marks to confuse the cultivator. Perhaps the young sect master himself at that time did not realize that he was in that state. It sounds even more intimidating now. Is he thinking that he is still alive, but in fact he is dead? Well, it may also be half dead, so the soul card did not respond. Xiang Yudan clapped his hands and said, Alchemy Gu's speculations are bold, but in my opinion they are very realistic. Other than that, I can't imagine anything that could put the entire sect cultivator away without disturbing the sect cultivator. The door silently shut down. Ji Bei's and the two alchemists from Tianyun sect looked at Xiang Yudan and gritted his teeth secretly. Which side is this on? Xiang Yudan said again, give this share to Gu Alchemist, I still have it here, maybe Gu Alchemist can make new discoveries. Gu Yao smiled and said, okay, then thank you very much. Shen Xing glanced at the two of them. Although Xiang Yudan had a good talent in alchemy in the alchemy pavilion, he always acted strangely and did not fit in well with other people, but he did not expect that he and Gu Yao seemed to have a common language. Gu Yao couldn't find anything else on the corpse, so he went to see those monsters. There were corpses, and they were also in cages. Qi Changjai always guarded Gu Yao's side firmly, and could invade the body of the monk unconsciously. Even if there are only corpses here, he doesn't dare to be careless, but it's not enough to not let Gu Yao touch it. The demonized corpses were also thoroughly dissected. This time Xiang Yudan did not stand behind. After finding that Gu Yao did not reject such a practice, he took the initiative to introduce to him that these corpses were completely corroded by demonic energy, and demonic energy still existed, strengthening the role of the physical body, but other than that, there is no other discovery. Xiang Yudan said, I'm thinking about whether to do a vivisection to see how they are different from dead bodies, and maybe I'll find something. Gu Yao glanced at Xiang Yudan in admiration. Perhaps, except for the corpse refining sect, this practice would be regarded by the monks as a crooked way of demons. Even the corpse refining sect had a bad reputation, because some people refine the living people into corpses. Gu Yao circled around the restless and roaring monster, carefully observed its various conditions. Ji Bei's and the others all retreated to the back, maybe they didn't think Gu Yao could find anything. The monster is also somewhat conscious, his eyes follow Gu Yao, and from time to time he waving his claws and roaring threats at Gu Yao, but because he suffered from the ban on the cage, he no longer has to bump up and ask for his own trouble. Of course, the movement of his eyeballs is still incomparable to others, and he still looks dull. After a few turns, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai returned to Su Chen's side, shook their heads at him, and said sorry to Ji Bei's, and had to go back to their residence first. Ji Bei's glanced at each other and didn't know if Gu Yao had found anything on this monster, but what else could he ask for without opening his mouth? Besides, he has been observing monsters through the cage, and they still don't believe that he can see anything. After leaving this underground space, Xiang Yudan was silent when he returned, and asked, "Master Gu, can I visit you often?" Gu Yao glanced at him, nodded and said, "Of course, I welcome it very much." "Smile to you Dan, that's great." Ji Beis and the others still sent Gu Yao and the others to the place where they met before, and then they went back, perhaps to report the situation to Elder Zhao and others, and Gu Yao and his party also returned to their residence. Without the others, Su Chen asked Gu Yao with interest, "What did you find?" Gu Yao told Su Chen about both the Gu worm and the Zerg race, and speculated, if this is the case, then the young sect master is likely to be carrying a female worm, and only the female worm will multiply. There are thousands of worms, and now this female worm is probably very difficult to deal with. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 479. Su Chen looked at Su and said with a look of disgust, "You guys didn't realize that you let the devil get such a terrifying bug." Su Chen had no doubts about Gu Yao's speculation, and decided that it was a very special kind of bug. Because the black silk in the crystal bottle can obviously sense a weak magic chi, if this female worm is allowed to walk around, I don't know how many daughter worms will breed, and how many monks will be controlled by it. He sighed and laughed, but Su Chen's willingness to talk to him was actually a very good progress. He smiled and said, "You don't know, in Dongzhou, not long after I sent you away, I received a message from a few sword demons, and there was an abnormality in the passage between the spiritual world and the demon world, so I immediately rushed. I went to the past and discussed with a few old opponents, because it was just a discussion, and it was not the opponent's main battlefield, so they retreated soon after." Gu Yao and Qi Changjai were shocked when they heard it. They included all parts of the spiritual world. I believe they didn't know that such a thing had happened. Of course, if it spread out, it would probably make the hearts of the spiritual world unstable. Silently guard the spirit world. Facing this smiling face, Su Chen had nowhere to express his anger, and knew in his heart that he was making trouble unreasonably, and being watched by two juniors, he would have no face to make trouble again. After a while, he said, "That is to say, that time when the demons came, they actually put things in under your nose? Now these things have something to do with them." "Yes, Chen Chen is smart, and you can see the essence at a glance." "Shut up for me," Su Chen exploded when he heard the title, and when Gu Yao and Qi Changjai first heard the strange expressions, their faces flushed with embarrassment. Gu Yao hurriedly pulled Qi Changjai and turned his back, but his shoulders shrugged. In fact, the senior's image of an expert has long since collapsed here. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Su Chen hated so much that he wanted to kick him out, if he could beat him. He couldn't beat it back then, but now he has been delayed for so many years, and his strength is even more disparate, so this idea can only be thought in his mind. There was a smile in his eyes. When he was a little monk, Su Chen liked to tease him to see him blush, but now it's the other way around. He actually likes the appearance of Su Chen's hair frying and blush being teased. He can understand it very well. At the beginning of Su Chen's mood. But the main thing is important, although they had guessed before, but they were not sure, so he asked Gu Yao, if this female worm really exists, it must be hidden among the monks, and it is difficult to be detected. I don't know if Xiaoao has. There is no means for the cultivator to detect it, and now I don't know how many daughter worms have been put on the cultivator by the mother worm. If you leave the dark state, the spiritual world will be in danger. Liao Su directly placed himself in the position of an elder, and called Gu Yao by the affectionate name of Xiao Yao. Of course Gu Yao also knew the seriousness of this matter. He could only say what he knew. I don't know if I can detect this kind of bug. After all, it is much higher than what I know. This kind of equipment can detect the activity of insects, but I only know the specific principle. I can find someone to try it. The key thing is the black silk found by the alchemist. The interstellar world was invaded by the all-pervasive Zerg. After years of competition, a lot of experience has been accumulated. Special detection instruments have also been developed for this kind of insects hidden in people. Once the fluctuation of insect activity is detected, the instrument will sound an alarm. The specimen of the worm is nowhere to be found, but this black silk comes from the same source as the worm. If you study this black silk carefully and use it, it should be able to play a certain role. Liao Su listened and praised it. Yes, maybe the cultivator's methods can't work on this thing, but the things on it are not so obvious. You wait a moment, I will come when I go, I will find someone to do this equipment. After Su Su finished speaking, he glanced at Su Chen, then cut through the space and disappeared directly from their eyes. When the people disappeared, Su Chen turned his head to see the place where his eyes disappeared. Gu Yao's sharp eyes found that Su Chen's eyes seemed to be somewhat resentful. When Li Su went to find someone for help, Gu Yao was not idle. He reopened the book on Gu art. Although he had read and focused on a few of them, he was not accustomed to some of the more partial Gu insects. Look, not much interest. This time I encountered this kind of tricky female worm, because there are similar Gu worms in Zhenshu. I can't help thinking, maybe I can learn from it and find another way to find the female worm. In this way, Gu Yao has been staying in this yard, maybe because of what he said at the beginning. Despite the opinions of other alchemists, no one has actively jumped out to challenge him for alchemy, but for this yard, attention has remained high. They had no way of discovering those who directly cut through the space and left, so they didn't dare to break into the yard at will. But after a few days, except for Xiang Yu Danhui to come to Gu Yao to discuss a thing or two, Gu Yao and the others never came out again. If you want to talk about the movement, it is Yan Yuanjing and Qi Changjai, who are often fighting in the courtyard, making people suspect that the courtyard will be destroyed by their sword energy in a few days. Su Chen wasn't very interested in the Gu technique, but after listening to Gu Yao's thoughts, he also kept an eye on his progress. How? Do you have an idea? Gu Yao nodded and said, I didn't read the content carefully before. I found that there is a kind of Gu worm called alarm Gu, which is used to predict danger. If it is improved, can it be used to predict worms? Su Chen glanced at the two people who had settled in the yard outside after the fight, and turned back and said, if you want to try it, and I'll give you a shot. After reading a lot, I also know that the Gu technique and the alchemy technique are similar, so he can still help Gu Yao with some materials asterisk. Gu Yao didn't delay, he found a blank jade and made a list of materials. He didn't have enough materials, and he had to ask Zhang Jing to try it. The wind helps. From time to time, I added more and more supplements. After the list was finished, Qi Changjai and Yan Yuanjing also came in. Gu Yao wanted to find someone to run, but Yan Yuanjing extended his hand without asking, I'll go. Qi Changjai nodded, this kind of live Yan Yuanjing is more suitable than him, and he will definitely not be blocked from entering and exiting the Alchemy Alliance. Okay, thank you Yan Daiyu, please collect the materials listed here and send them to you as soon as possible. Okay, Yan Yuanjing took the jade slip, turned around and went out. In the past few days, there has finally been movement, but seeing Shi Yan Yuanjing, the person staring at this yard hesitated, and went to stop him. Aren't you afraid that the short sword demon will come to you? Ji Bei's, who received the news, came in a hurry. He thought he put down his body and might be able to draw Yan Yuanjing over, but until he left the Pill Alliance, he didn't get a response from Yan Yuanjing even if he broke his tongue. Stepping out of the Alchemy Alliance, Yan Yuanjing turned back and gave him a cold look, then turned and walked away. Ji Bei's was so angry that he wanted to scold. Isn't it because of the sword demon? If he was not accepted as a disciple by the sword demon, he would be named Yan. This stinky temper has long been killed. He didn't think about it. If he wasn't a disciple of Elder Zhao of Xiannong sect, and he was a cultivator outside, he wouldn't be respected everywhere. After staying for a day, Yan Yuanjing came back first with some materials, and when Zhang Jingfeng collected all the materials, he would send someone to deliver it. The second batch of materials was personally sent by Zhang Jingfeng, and brought a bad news. That day, Gu alchemist, your words were spread by people in the Alchemy Alliance. Many monks outside were attacking Gu alchemist, saying that you were deliberately spreading rumors to cause trouble. Su Chen clicked his tongue unhappily. These old guys are trying to smear Gu Yao's reputation on purpose, but what good will this publicity do to them? Zhang Jingfeng said, it has caused instability in people's hearts. Recently, many monks want to leave the dark state. If it is really like what the ancient alchemists said, this thing is taken out of the dark state and spread to other states in the spiritual world, then no one can control the situation at all. But Gu Yao also said, as long as the female worm does not leave, it should not cause much danger, because the control of the female worm on the daughter worm should also be limited, within a certain range. Of course, as the strength of the female worm increases, the controllable distance range will continue to increase. That is to say, this matter will not be resolved sooner or later. Zhang Jingfeng felt relieved after hearing this, and he added, because of these rumors, the recent sales of Horcruxes and pills for protecting the soul are also very good, especially those Horcruxes, which are originally special something like that. There are very few sets, it can't meet the needs at all, and the price is also very high, even I am considering whether to buy one, haha. Gu Yao also laughed, but suddenly realized one thing. Does the pill pavilion in the Sea of Knowledge also have this kind of effect? If this kind of worm wants to settle down in his sea of consciousness, I'm afraid it won't be easy. Fortunately, there is an idea for the research of Gu worm, and it should be possible to follow this idea, so that the people around him can also be guaranteed, otherwise the pill pavilion can only protect him alone. When Gu Yao gradually produced results here, Liao Su also came back, bringing back good news. He went directly to a first-grade artifact refiner and asked him to bring his disciples and grandchildren to manufacture the instrument. Next, several major forces will come forward and place the instrument at their respective city gates. People passing by, once parasitized by this worm in the sea of consciousness, will immediately sound an alarm, and the monks who are guarding will take them down. Facts have proved that Gu Yao's conjecture is correct, because when the instrument was built, they had already captured several monks who made the instrument respond. The devil, as soon as the devil leaves, the body will die, but the news has not yet spread. It's just that this kind of instrument is not easy to make, and the number of black silk that can be collected is limited, so Liao Su was unable to bring back a finished product for Gu Yao and the others to see. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 480. Su Chen hadn't told Su about their progress in Chenzhou, but another monk came from outside. Needless to say, it must have rushed to Su. The Alchemy Alliance has used useless means, and thousands of years have passed and there has been no progress. Su Chen sneered, and he knew without thinking that the Alchemy Alliance called these monks to contain them. Imaginary. In the past few days, Su Chen has been absent, and Su Chen also took a little time to reflect on his relationship with the little monk. In his impression, Liao Suji is the image of the little monk, just the same as his current appearance. The young monk at that time was younger than him. Although Su Chen had a good mouth when he was practicing outside, he put himself in the role of the elder brother to take care of the young monk. Even if he later learned that the young monk had slaughtered so many monks, he still could not change the little monk in his impression. But it was different when he returned to the spiritual world. Even when he was in the space, through Gu Yao and Qi Changjai, he also knew what kind of role the little monk was in the spiritual world. When the name was reported, he was the top of the spiritual world. It is also going to be shaken. Yes, thousands of years have passed, even if the aptitude is average, as long as you don't die, you can slowly endure the Mahayana tribulation period, not to mention he knows how talented the little monk is in cultivation, how many he has for such a long time. He can fly to the upper realm, and he knows why he has been staying in the spiritual realm, so he is now a big boss standing at the peak of the spiritual realm. In comparison, Su Chen, who thought he was taking care of himself, delayed all these years. Although he had reshaped his body when he returned to the spiritual world, his current cultivation base was still in the integration stage, which was 2 big steps away from the little monk back then. Su Chen felt very uncomfortable when he thought of such a big gap and reversed roles. In this way, he can still talk in front of the little monk. No, he also called Su little monk. He must have deliberately retained this image to let people relax their vigilance. Sure enough, the appearance of pure goodness is actually bad, and he was also deceived back then. The visitor was a guest. Guyao and Qi Changjai couldn't keep people out. They looked at each other, and the two got up and went out to welcome the guest. At first, they were also preconceived, thinking that the master's reputation in the spiritual world was bad enough, but the experience in the dark state during this period gave them a new understanding. The situation of the master in the spiritual world may not be as they thought. After all, the world still sees who has a bigger fist and respects the strong. As long as the master is not a demon who kills innocent people indiscriminately, how many people will bombard him with the banner of eliminating demons and defending the way? Especially what the master said this time, it proves their thinking. There are such a group of people or a few people in the spiritual world. Their strength has reached the peak of the spiritual world, and they are only 1 step away from soaring. The responsibility of the spiritual world, Master Yuhao is one of them, so other bosses will sit and watch the spirit world besiege the master? They can see through these situations, and it is impossible for the Buddhists to not see them, so it is hard to say what the purpose of the people coming from the Buddhists is. The 2 of them went out and saw that there were 2 monks who were old, one with kind eyes, one with a vicious spirit, and one with an angry Buddha and King Kong. The 2 bowed and asked, "Did the 2 masters come to find Master Su?" The monk with kind eyebrows and good purpose folded his hands. "Amachuo Buddha, the greedy monk Liufan and the junior brother Liaoan are here for the sake of emptiness." Another monk made a Buddha salute with one hand, and it was considered that they had seen the salute. It was these 2 who appeared by Su's side in Dongzhou last time, and they really had a poor relationship. At this moment, Liao Su's voice came out, "If you have something to say, if you have nothing, get out." The master usually speaks gently and softly, and seems to have a very good temper. This is the first time that Guyao and Qi Changjai have seen such rudeness. It seems that the relationship with the Buddhist sect is really bad. The 2 of them don't know. Su sent them away in a hurry. It was the appearance of these 2 monks. At that time, Su Chen didn't want to expose Su Chen's existence. Liao Yan raised his brows as soon as he heard it, or slapped him back politely. Liao Fan hurriedly announced the Buddha's name. There was a calming force in his voice, and then he looked in the direction of Su. "Li Su, I the younger brother came this time to help the Alchemy Alliance and solve the troubles in Anzhou as soon as possible, and knowing that you are here, I came to say hello to the younger brother. If you say hello, then get out. You 2 little guys can see off the guests and close the door." The following words were directed at Guyao and Qi Changjai. Said. Liu Fan's expression has never changed, as if he couldn't make him show his anger no matter how big the matter was, but it was different for Liaoan. With a fist clenched, his momentum soared, and he rushed in and planned to pull out Liao Su and beat him. At this time, Liu Fan said, "Okay, Liaoxu, my junior brother and I will leave first. Liaoan, let's go." Only then did Liao Yan loosen his fist, glared at Su's direction, turned around and followed Fan. This movement attracted many people to come out to watch, and found that the conflict did not happen, and turned back in disappointment. Guyao and Qi Changjai also closed the courtyard door. They can't figure out the origin and purpose of the two monks. Is it really just to help Danmen? Wouldn't they not understand the grievances between Su and Danmen Lingzhou? The origin of the name Blood Slaughter Monk is absolutely inseparable from Lingzhou. When they entered the living room, they saw Su Zheng drinking tea with a smile, and there was no trace of the previous call to roll. Su Chen next to him had a mocking look on his face. As for the other Yan Yuan in their Yarjing, such a big thing could not alarm him, unless there is a real fight. Maybe he is interested in watching the fight. When Gu Yao and Qi Changjai saw this, they still left the space to the two of them. The two went to the pill room hand in hand. Qi Changjai could also help Gu Yao, such as handing over materials or something. Su Chen in the room snorted coldly, knowing the virtues of these guys from Danmen. He sent himself to the door. After 10,000 years, Fozong and Lingzhou will come to cooperate again. Back then, it was the two parties who joined forces to figure them out. In the eyes of the Buddhist sect, he, Su Chen, was a vixen who hooked up with people and led the most talented disciple of the Buddhist sect on a devious path. Therefore, I most hope that all parties in Lingzhou will be able to convince Su Chen. Chen, the vixen, was killed, so if he was empty, he could return to the right path and maintain a purest heart. It's a pity that in the end, he was finally passed through and even slaughtered the Buddhist disciples, and he was not willing to let Su Chen go back to the Buddhist sect, and completely degenerated into the devil's way and became a complete demonic cultivator, which completely contradicted the purpose of the Buddhist sect. Chen, I will protect you this time, and now I have the ability to protect you, Legzu said softly. Su Chen's face became hot, and he looked away uncomfortably. But, who wants your protection? If they knew I was in the house just now, they would have rushed in desperately and killed me. I didn't expect my scourge to come back. Well, it's a pity, you little monk has become a monk Hua. Liao Su smiled even more happily. Whether it's a little monk or a monk Hua, as long as you are happy with Chen, the two of them together are not my opponents. Besides, Chen is not a scourge, and Chen is the best. Su Chen pretended to get goosebumps, but in fact he was trying to hide his embarrassment, and he was dying. Who did this little monk learn from these years? How can he speak coaxing words? Elder Zhao and Elder Yu paid attention to the conflict between Fan Liaoan and Suitu, and felt that it was a wise move to invite them over, the bigger the better. Thinking that Elder Xiang's grandson often went to see Gu Yao recently, Elder Zhao was a little unhappy. What happened to Elder Xiang's grandson? Did he look right to Gu? Elder Yu shook his head and said, you still don't know the temperament of that child in Xiang's family. He has been very eccentric since he was a child, but Elder Xiang is very fond of his talent in alchemy, and has been teaching him by his side. Forget it, let him go. Elder Zhao, Elder Yu, something happened outside. A disciple ran in a hurry and hurriedly reported to the report factory. The city owner asked someone to place a magic weapon at the city gate. Some monks who entered and left the city gate were arrested because of the magic weapon's reaction. Later, someone came out and explained that it was the man who caused the magic weapon to react. The body was parasitized by demon insects. What? Why is no one reporting for such a big thing? The first thing that Elder Yu thought of was this. Who made the stuff? Where is the Dan League placed? Their alchemy alliance is the main force to track down this problem, but now it has surpassed them. Elder, the city lord is here. The city lord asks to see some elders. Another disciple came in to report. The two elders were not happy. How could the result come out, and the reason why talent is long overdue? Elder Yu snorted coldly. Notify Elder Li and Elder Xiang, and this elder wants to see what they can say. The city owner was busy with this matter, and his subordinates reminded him to come over to say hello. In fact, he was not bored. It took so long to give it to Danmen, and there was no fart result, so they didn't dare to offend Danmen. And Lingzhou, right? I don't know how much disaster it will bring to Anzhou. As soon as the magic weapon was put into use, several monks who entered and exited the city gate were identified. Now the city lord and other high-level officials hope that there are alchemists in the spiritual world who can set up another place to teach alchemy techniques like the original alchemy Immortals. Few people inquired about the details of the two alchemists who were brought in by the Alchemy Alliance. One was Guyao and the other was said to be Su Yan. They could not find out the origins of their teachers, but the alchemy skills were extremely high. I heard that the idea of this magic weapon is also from the alchemist named Guyao. On the other hand, Zhang Jingfen learned about the movement at the gate of the city, and also sent Zhang guards to report to Guyao and the others. Zhang Jingfen was too busy to get out of his body, and he felt that it was necessary for his men to go to the city. Turn around the door, and if there is a problem, it will be revealed as soon as possible. Guyao was surprised when he heard it. So fast. Sure enough, there are still a lot of talents in the spiritual world. If you provide an idea, you can study things very quickly. In this way, the movements of the female insect will not converge. Less.